welcome to the show for today. This morning on Perspectives, I have an extremely special guest. Known to some as Jermaine Shute and many as STARLITO, I have American artist, recording artist, father, mentor, and an overall really awesome guy, STARLITO. And so thank you, Lito, for coming to join me this morning. And
sure.
I'm trying to keep my composure because I am a huge fan. My household, we're all huge fans, and it's really full circle to have you on here because the point of Perspectives is to have the movers and shakers of Nashville, and you almost define being a mover and shaker from here in town. So tell me a little about your background and education, just early Jermaine.
Education, I'm a product of Nashville Public Schools. Graduated from Hume Fog about 20 plus years ago. Went to Tennessee State undergrad, and also went to MTSU a little later, studied recording industry there. So, you know, I'm a byproduct of the best Nashville has to offer.
Now, going back a little further, a little deeper back, I want to talk about kind of what your childhood looked like. Okay. What did early life kind of look like for you?
I'm from East Nashville. You know, I'm a native of Nashville, which is a rarity these days.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I went to Meg's in East Nashville for middle school. Went to Alex Green.
Now, schools aside, tell me your extracurriculars. Were you in church, family?
Sure. I went to church with my grandmother, primarily St. John AME in North Nashville. I played Little League sports, basketball, football, the YMCA programs, the junior pro. Otherwise, a lot later, I helped start a Little League program. A lot of our kids that were playing there, like graduating high school, just maybe 10 years ago when we had it going. But yeah, I'm just an East Nashville baby, I guess you could say.
Something I think that's especially interesting about you is how humble you are. You're extremely soft-spoken and humble, and I think that that's a blessing because you don't have to be. You've been in this game a very long time, and you've made your impact. I don't even have to explain who you are. I'm like, y'all know STARLITO? Yeah, STARLITO. And so I want to kind of talk about the inspiration behind you even beginning to write music and how you kind of maintain that self-care and that mental health in that process.
It's a process. I mean, I look at making music as like a therapeutic process and pour a lot into my music. I started off, it was like a hobby, a passion project kind of thing. Eventually it grew into business and otherwise, but I mean, I feel a little disconnected from my roots because I've had a 20+ year career, but once upon a time it was just something that me and some of my friends were doing for fun, and people started telling me I was pretty good at it, and just stuck with it, you know.
Now, kind of tell me what that looked like at Hume Fog. I know that even today, Hume Fog is not a predominantly black school. So especially, you know, 20+ years ago, it definitely wasn't. And kind of tell me how you navigated through those high school years as a young black male artist.
I wasn't so deep into the artistry of it. I began making music while I was in high school. I didn't start putting my music out until I was at TSU. So I put out my first mixtape 2003, like my sophomore year of college. And but starting off, it was just something, you know, we'd leave school and pull our money together and pay for studio time, trying to just figure it out. Eventually, just trial and error, you know, learning as you go. And you know, like I said, way back when, it was out of the trunk. We were pressing physical CDs, and anyone that was willing to give it a listen, it was probably gave away more CDs than I sold, but pressing up CDs by the 1,000 and just, you know, it predated streaming and a digital music era. So everyone that heard your music, you had to almost reach them directly and otherwise. And so, like I said, those humble beginnings, you know, I know where I came from and I know what it took to, you know, create an audience. Yeah, a mass audience and otherwise. But it all started here. It all started right down the street.
Man, right on John Merritt.
For sure, for the most part.
And to kind of wrap up this first segment, tell me what you think the first single that really kind of solidified that you're going to be rapping. Tell me what that first single was, in your opinion.
I mean, I'd say I had a record called Grey Goose, like 2004.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful accident. Me and my friends just playing around in the studio, kidding around, and turning something else. I did like 5 versions of the songs, 5 remixes, got a record deal, bunch of artists that are still like top tier A-list artists today. You know, all asked to feature on the record, and you know the rest was history with that. But with that, it was the first time like I got like airplay and got my music
That kind of notoriety.
Right. Like,
and in our second segment, we're going to continue talking about just life after Grey Goose, your later adolescent years, and we're going to build up to Step Brothers and ultimately to Love Drug, which you have releasing this Friday, December 15th.
My birthday.
On your birthday,
Sure.
Yes, sir. And I encourage viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives, where Starlito and I will be discussing grinding hard in Tennessee. Welcome to the second segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, my name is Alana McLaughlin, and I am host of Perspectives. This morning, I have American recording artist STARLITO discussing his artistry background, his faith, and ultimately his current career and the impact he seeks to leave on Tennessee. So thank you, Lito, for joining me this morning.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And kind of to rehash that first segment, we talked about your early beginnings, those humble beginnings here in town. We talked about your experiences at Hume Fogg, which is interesting. A lot of people don't know you were a graduate of Hume Fogg, which is one of the top schools in Tennessee.
In America.
In America. You went on to TSU, you left your mark there, and we left off talking about Grey Goose. Now, everyone who knows you knows Grey Goose, and especially those who lived in Nashville in the early 2000s.
For sure.
And so kind of just tell me about how that felt. This is on the air now, you're getting that recognition, you're still dwelling in the same places in Nashville, but people are treating you different. Kind of tell me what life looked like around those early 2000s.
I mean, I'm at a song that was, I guess, a time capsule kind of thing. Like, I went to a wedding last summer, one of my good friends. I went to Derek Moore's wedding, one of the founders, owners of Slim Huskies, and they played the record at the reception, and we felt like kids again. I mean, I'm a little bit removed from that record now, but at that time, it was the first time my music kind of transcended Nashville. You know, I was 19 when I put the song out, so turning 20 and being on the airwaves, it was a cool thing. But I'd say it was a challenge to escape like being a one-hit wonder or a song being what you're known for. And so 19 years past that, to be able to like have a career, like, you know, have a following that transcends a song. There were a lot of people that were probably hotter than me at that time that have probably come and gone. You know, the recording industry, music industry, like hip hop, it swallows a lot of artists whole, like, for lack of a better way of putting it. And I'm just thankful to have been adaptive and been able to, you know, keep this thing afloat and keep expressing myself past that. Because I was a kid then, and that was a fun party record. I don't even make that type of music anymore, truthfully. But at that time, it was like a breakthrough. It got me through a lot of doorways. You know, my music was just putting me in different spaces. I got a recording deal with Universal Motown at the time, and I learned a lot. I didn't really do like a major label debut kind of thing, but maybe about 3 years or so in that system taught me a lot on my independent journey. Like, I saw like what it looks like at the highest level of doing it. So I was able to take a lot of what I learned and, you know, snowball it into an independent career.
And I want to talk about kind of the build up to Step Brothers, Volume 1. Yeah. Tell me about getting with Don Tripp and the experience associated with that.
I was coming out of my major label, my major deal, if you will, and Don Tripp had actually signed a major deal. Right, it was kind of like us crossing paths, and we just made some music. We had 3 studio sessions and put together a collaborative project, 2011, Step Brothers, and you know, from there, it was just a beautiful, I don't want to call it an accident, but it's very much by design. But I don't know at that time if we thought we would be making 3 of them or, you know, still touring together and doing shows 12 years later. We did a follow-up in 2013, Step Brothers 2. We charted on Billboard and otherwise. Step Brothers 3 came out in 2017. We toured nationally. We did like a 43-city tour. And I mean, that's my guy. He's my best friend in rap, if you will. And it was just like a kindred spirit kind of thing. Like at that time when we crossed paths and we met, it was like the raw talent, the urgency, the hunger that he had. It was refreshing because I was maybe 7 years into my professional career, and I feel like it was meant for me to share my experiences with him, to maybe steer him away from some of the hardships and otherwise that come with being a major label artist. And all this time since, now we're thriving as independent artists and probably doing more than we could have ever dreamt of. Like,
And Lito, throughout this entire process, you still were in Nashville, you were still mentoring, you were still producing. And kind of tell me, how do you balance, you know, regular life, Jermaine's life, with, you know, STARLITO?
I mean, I say a part of it is considering where it started from. You know, there was tons of people that helped me get to where I am and along the way. And I feel like there's no value in hiding the information. If I hold a conversation with anybody, I can tell you what I know. I may not know everything, but I can tell you what worked or didn't work for me or otherwise. And you know, I love to see someone take it way further than I've been able to. Because, you know, there were those that came before me that inspired, you know, my journey and let me know it was possible. And you know, I'm just still here. Nashville's changed so much in the time since I grew up here, in the time since I started making music. I moved away. I've lived in a few other cities, but you know, as they say, there's no place like home, and it's refreshing to be able to give back or share or just, you know, I take a lot of pride in being able to be myself, and so I do normal stuff. I do practical things here and enjoy them as much. You know, if I'm recognized, like that's cool too. I don't like command attention or any of that stuff. And I mean, I just try to enjoy the journey.
And that's good. And I guess to kind of wrap this second segment, I want to talk about your recording studio that's here in town, or your label.
Okay.
Cashville Records, or GRINDHARD. And I kind of want to talk about the idea behind that, the kind of mindset behind that. What does that even mean, you know?
It's an acronym associated with it, giving reality inspired new direction toward having a real dream. It's just, you know, grind hard. It's a mindset, as they say. It's you know, it's just something that I branded with, you know, some of my friends that I came up around and taking it somewhere else. I just wanted something to extend past like myself, past STARLITO and my personal music and artistry. Like it's, you know, it's a motto, it's a mantra, it's something that, you know, it's workout gear, it's you know, it's a lot of things.
So kind of like a lifestyle almost.
For sure, for sure.
And in our third segment, we're going to pick back up on that because the entire episode is grinding hard in Tennessee and talking about how you've characterized that. And in our final segment, I want to discuss current career, the concert you have upcoming, as well as the album, and really how you've been able to be adaptive. You said that earlier, just being able to maintain. And I encourage viewers to tune into the final segment of Perspectives, where STARLITO and I will be discussing grinding hard in Tennessee. Welcome to the final segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, my name is Alana McLaughlin and I am host of Perspectives. This morning I'm joined by STARLITO, Nashville-based rapper, recording artist, and mentor to discuss grinding hard in Tennessee, his legacy, his career, his faith, and ultimately how he's been able to adapt to new music, how he's been able to have a career that has spanned over 20 years. And so thank you again for being here. And something I kind of skipped over in our second segment was talking about you getting with Lil Baby, with Exotic. Actually, it took me just thinking about the song myself to actually remember that you were on, and I'm like, wow, that was like a huge feature song, and that kind of fell in the midst of the first Step Brothers albums, or the first few. And I really want to talk about how that felt, that getting that airplay. He's a young guy, he's Atlanta-based, and just kind of how that reception felt.
It was cool. I mean, anytime like I collaborate with artists, you know, from wherever they're from. But that was a great collaboration. The album it was on went platinum. It was produced by Tay Keith, who went to MTSU. He's still in the area. He's from Memphis. It's just, you know, it was a cool collaboration. Like major label artists, indie artists, like anyone that's, you know, pushing forward. It's always a cool thing to be able to intermingle with other artists and people that are serious and passionate about what they do. The commercial success of it is always a cool thing. Like as an indie artist, like that was a good experience for my namesake and the music to go as far as it might have. A few records like that, and that's always cool, especially when artists reach out to me and want to collaborate. Like it's just kind of a testament to the work that I put in prior. But that was a cool thing.
And on the same tip of the work that you're putting in, you have an album releasing on your birthday on Friday, December 15th, called Love Drug. Yeah. And I want to talk about you. This is a new thing. This is really good for Nashville music because we haven't had too many actual good collections of music come out, and not even just good. We haven't had too many albums from actually like established artists come out, you know, in the last few years, and I am especially kind of interested in the road to that. I know you didn't just up one day and say, I'm gonna drop an album.
No, I was actually on the other end of it. I kind of struggled creatively. I hadn't dropped an album in 3.5 years, and it was the longest that I'd ever gone in my career between dropping a solo project. I think we got a lot of talented artists. We got a hip-hop scene that's kind of could be tapped into a little bit more. I wish that we embraced our own and could take it a little further, like on some homegrown and things, you know, from their roots up here. But my album Love Drug, it's I mentioned it earlier, like making the music is therapeutic. Releasing the music is an experience its own. Like for people to enjoy it, like I just want to share it and people embrace it or you know, are able to share with me the impact or the effect of it. Like that's just a great thing. Like it's something great for me personally. Like any stats or metrics aside, like I just I struggled, like I said, for a while getting to a space of sharing it or what to share or what to say. My last album, Paternity Leave, was the first album I recorded after I had a child, and you know, I think at that time, 16 plus years in, I was just almost over it a little bit. I want to be there, you know, for the life level of things with my child, and a lot happened between then and now, and your perspective changes, and growing through all of this, like I finally reached a space where I felt like I had something to say, or I knew what it wasn't waking up one day and just putting an album out, but the gradual process creatively was like, I want to share my experiences, good, bad, happy, sad, and you know, in a very, very like raw, honest way, introspective way, and that's what I gave. Like I talk about interpersonal relationships, I talk about addiction, I talk about grief, like things that are really uncharted territory in hip hop. Like a lot of the mental health things are stigmatized, and in truth, like the whole culture of hip hop, it can be a little dark, it can be a little heavy sometimes, but like I grew up and grew through it, and so I feel like I would be selling my audience short to not give them the full like range or full spectrum of it, and that's what I try to offer. I didn't make the music that you play before you go out and go party. It's like a peak within, and I think there's something in my experiences that it may be valuable, like whether it's familiar to you or it's just like, you know, Just a different perspective.
And I appreciate you mentioning that you do have a very specific type of music. It is not the go-go, the loud and bumping, but it is introspective, and it forces you to think about self and to think about your experiences. And with that music, and you just mentioned being a father, I want to talk about how do you feel that being a father has kind of impacted music now, both on the creative side and on the performance side?
It's just different. I've been making music so long. Like, once upon a time, I probably cared about being like highly regarded or revered, or I wanted like my skill set to shine through. I wanted to be viewed as whatever was great, or you know, in this space. And now, like, I'm more so in a space of just wanting it to matter to myself. I wanted to be true to like who I am when we cut the equipment off, or aside from the music, like, because you know, I got someone that may look at me and want to know why I said this on this song, you know, and it's affected that part of it, but I also still have to like remember that this has always been like the creative space of it has always been like a release, and so I don't want to censor myself, or I don't, you know, or otherwise, but it is, you know, it's something to balance, because when we set all this aside from fanfare or, you know, casting yourself out there, you know, you got a real life and otherwise, and that comes before all this too. So it's an interesting balance, because I had so much more time invested, so much equity into the creative side and pouring into a career before this, and it's like I'm still in real time, like overcorrecting or learning as you go.
And that's a good segue kind of into my final big question,
Okay.
which is, what is the impact that you seek to leave on little old Nashville? Like, genuinely, when 50, 100 years from now, when people are watching this on the TV thinking, wow, look at how old those TVs were. Wow, why was that guy rapping for 30 years? Why?
For sure. You know, I think about legacy and those things, because, like, what are you doing it for at a point? But here and now, like, I don't care about stats. I don't care about any, like, superficial like, way of viewing any of it. I just care about being true. I care about authenticity. Like, I feel like being true to yourself and things done from a space of love.
It shines through.
Yeah, and it'll endure. Like,
will.
it'll sustain, and
We've kind of seen that with your artistry, and I hate to cut you off on this good story, but I want to thank you for sharing that artistry, and thank our viewers for tuning in to hear this story. And I thank our viewers again for just giving me the platform to tell this story. And we wish you a good morning.